Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Pedro Caixinha all set to bring in new faces at Rangers. Aberdeen skip a round in the Europa League. Martin Canning defends his Hamilton players. Yeah, just a few of the talking points. Alan Rough and myself, Peter Martin, will be discussing as ever with our Bootroom guest on a Monday night. Delighted that Gordon Smith has joined us here in the studio, and lots to talk about, including a look back over a dramatic weekend of football with some managers biting their nails right until the last seconds of the matches. We'll talk playoffs as well, and we'll also, as ever, look at the back pages. Here's the record, and the back page talks about Pedro Caixinha being linked with Alexander Ziolis of Hearts. There's also Celtic being linked with Lucas at Liverpool, and there's confirmation of that story. Derek McInnes looking at a little bit of an extended break for Aberdeen now that Feyenoord have won the Dutch Eredivisie. That will mean that Aberdeen don't have to play the first qualifying round in the Europa League, and there's a link there with Andrew Robertson. Could be a windfall of money for obviously Dundee United if Andrew Robertson joins Liverpool from Hull. Here's the Sun, and yet another player being linked with a move, and that is Jozo Simonovic. Newcastle being linked with a move for the Celtic defender. And looking at the Daily Mail, we've got just a brilliant picture there of Harry Kane, perhaps fitting because he is indeed one of their own. The Tottenham striker scoring the last goal for a Tottenham player at White Hart Lane before the new stadium eventually takes over. It was a farewell to the lane, and there's also a story there linking Barry Mackay with a move to Nottingham Forest to link up with his old manager Mark Warburton. Lots of those stories to discuss, lads. Of course, Pedro Caixinha has denied any link with Ziolis, but he obviously is now getting ready to bring in his own style of player, Ruffy. This Rangers team should change dramatically depending on the money he has available.
Yep, I've said this on numerous occasions. I think the supporters are eagerly waiting on who the new faces are going to be. It looks as if, to believe everything you see in the papers, it looks as if he's trying to go for experienced players, players around about 33, 34, 35. That can be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, but it's the quality they want to see coming in. But I think the Rangers supporters might be a wee bit anxious every time that he's mentioned with a player who's going to cost money. It seems to be getting binned. You know, obviously there won't be a lot of money there in the budget, so I think he's got to have to watch to see how he's going to spend it. Yeah,
it's going to be crucial. I mean, listen, it's nothing new, clubs having to be prudent with their money, but I think the Rangers fans are going to be looking at this, you know, almost microscopically.
Yeah, well, they're definitely going to be very interested in it, because there was talk. I think Stuart Robertson came out at one time and said recently there's going to be money available for Pedro Caixinha to get players in. So that's what they're looking at. But the thing is, they don't know how much money, and they don't know also whether he's meaning it'll be mainly in terms of the sort of wage levels they're going to have to go to, or there's actually transfer money available. I mean, at this stage, if you've done your homework correctly, and the big trouble Rangers have had is a new manager not long in the job, they don't have a proper scouting system in place either, then they won't really have been looking ahead to see how many players who are actually out of contract and planning in advance and maybe getting people on pre-contracts. A lot of the good players that were coming out of contract, it's too late. A lot of them have signed pre-contracts with other clubs. So there's a lot of factors involved here. And as I say, it will be down to Pedro Caixinha, who, in terms of who he brings in, you know, also his links as well with other agents and people in other countries he's actually been managing in, and also where he's from, obviously Portugal. So I think, you know, that'll be a big factor.
Yeah, of course, if you read from now until the close of the transfer window, you'll be demented, Ruffy, looking at half the players that are potentially going in and going out at certain clubs. Of course, Celtic, Jozo Simonovic linked with a move away. Celtic linked with Lucas at Liverpool because of obviously the Brendan Rodgers association with him too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Simonovic has done well, but I think Brendan Rodgers is possibly looking at something a bit better. I think the boy Simonovic sometimes dives in very quickly, quite a lot. You know, I think he gets caught out from time to time. I think he's as good as what there is there just now. I think.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Robbie, because I was about to say to you, if Simonovic is the weak link, the other two are getting sold before him.
Yeah, no, I think Boyata has come on. I think he's still a young, raw guy. You know, I think he could be one to hang on to for 2 or 3 years. I just think if Brendan Rodgers is looking at getting X amount of pounds for Newcastle, and I think he only cost, what was it, 2.5, something like that, 3. I think if he got maybe 6, 7, 8, as you would think he would want Newcastle to spend, there might be somebody out there who's just that wee bit of quality.
But you'll also want to have, I think, a set of good centre backs, not just having two.
No.
That you need a squad of, you know, so because he might change his system at times. I mean, there might be certain European games where he might think 3 centre halves is required here. I know that Lustig can also play in there. He's been a centre half from time to time, but you really want to have at least 4 top quality centre halves. So if Simonovic is going out, they'll probably have to get 2 in.
Yeah, I just think this Simonovic has made enough soundbite to want it. You know, he's right from the start. You know, he's always said, "I want to go to England," or "I want to go somewhere bigger." You know, I don't see him changing his mind. And if that's his attitude, then I think Brendan Rodgers might just say, "Look, if I don't want to be here, I'll get somebody else."
Yeah. One other story which I think is positive news, especially for Derek McInnes. The Dutch Eredivisie was won by Feyenoord yesterday, and that, in effect, the way other leagues finished, allows Aberdeen, some rest in the summer. They won't have to come in until the second qualifying round of the Europa League.
That is a break for them, isn't it? You know, because as you say, they get a little bit more of a rest, and it means that, you know, they're coming in. But the other side of it is, the downside is that they were playing against maybe a team who already also maybe had played a game, or maybe even a mid-season. So it's going to be tough for them. But Feyenoord winning the league, did you remember when the last time they won the league?
Well, I don't want you to mention that because that's our quiz question
is
today.
Is it? Right. Okay.
Gordon,
I didn't know that.
If you could just keep quiet at the moment.
I won't say it then.
and don't mention it. So that's that's the first time we've been scuppered before we got to it. And the other stories that would be a great windfall of money, and boy would it be welcome, is if Andy Robertson moved to Liverpool. That would give Dundee United some cash.
Yep, I think Andrew Robertson's just like Kieran Tierney. The two of them seem to have matured dramatically in a year. You know, they look as if their upper body they look really mature for their age, both of them. And I think that'd be a good move for him and Dundee United.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And I think he's a great example to a lot of young players, because there's a young boy that was released by Celtic, wasn't considered good enough to make it, went back to Queen's Park, amateur, started in the bottom level of the game, and look where he's got himself. So, you know, I say to a lot of kids, a lot of them get demoralised when they're freed, Peter. And this is a great example of a kid that said, "No, I'll show you that you got it wrong," and look where he is now. Yeah,
I mean, slightly facetious with the last newspaper story, but there's a link there, Mark Warburton watching to see how the Barry Mackay negotiations develop at Rangers, and if he doesn't agree to sign, then he'll nip in there. I'm not sure. Have Nottingham Forest got $6 million, Gordon?
I'm not sure how much they've got, but certainly Mark Warburton did like Barry Mackay, no doubt about that. It was him that gave him his chance, and there's no question that he's a fan. But I think maybe things might have turned around as well for Pedro Caixinha, because from a situation where he's maybe thinking Barry Mackay, he's not been playing him, hardly been using him, all of a sudden 2 games in a row he comes in, scores a great goal, then scores the winner when he's talking to him. And Barry Mackay's come out and said it's not a case that I want to leave and I've refused to sign. I'm waiting for Rangers coming back to me with an improved offer.
Yeah, I think he would be one of the players you'd want to keep, Ruffy.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, you know, that early on in the season he was the star man, you know, for Rangers. That's why they started talking about £6 million. But again, you know, if you touched on it briefly there, is he the kind of player that he wants to build his team round about? We've seen it far too often, as far as I'm concerned, that people with that natural ability go by people for some unknown reason, formation or whatever, just get left out, and that's what happened. But as Gordon said, he's brought him back in again. He scored a couple of goals, you know. So it gives the manager something to think about. You know, do I make that position a position that I have to have in my team?
Yeah. Okay. We will hear from Pedro Caixinha looking ahead to the Aberdeen game. We'll also hear from an Aberdeen fan giving us his assessment of the season and looking ahead to the Cup final as well. Will that result on Friday have any psychological bearing on that? We'll hear from Dons fan Chris Scott. We'll also hear from Martin Canning on troubled times for Hamilton, and a much relieved Motherwell boss, Stephen Robinson. Join us after the break. Here's that question we were talking about. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. Well, from looking back at the morning headlines, certainly over the weekend on Saturday's programme, the drama that unfolded was absolutely incredible right across the Premiership and the playoffs as well. Some incredible stories. Of course, the Lanarkshire Derby was something we were keeping an eye on. Here was the Premiership results. There was confirmation of the Friday night win for Celtic. Rangers with the early kick-off with that 2-1 win over Hearts. And then the drama that unfolded on Saturday afternoon, Dundee securing their top flight status, but Hamilton having to battle to the possibly the last day of the season because Motherwell managed a 1-0 victory. Kilmarnock again remain for another year in the top flight after their win over Inverness. Inverness staring at the trap door now, and St Johnstone securing fourth place in the table, and they'll be looking forward to European football. But of course Lanarkshire was the place to be, and there was just one goal that settled it. In the end, Ruffy, it was all about goal scorers and Louis Moult.
Yeah, I think we all knew this was going to be a tight one, both of them getting into it, a lot of tension, a lot of nerves, and we looked, I think it was Gordon who said, if you look at both two teams, you look at the strikers Motherwell's got against Hamilton scoring over the last 4 or 5 weeks, there hasn't been very much there, so you're looking at a big time player coming up with a goal. Although it wasn't a classic, it was still a goal, and Motherwell deservedly won the game.
Yep, and the Motherwell manager Stephen Robinson was happy after it.
Listen, we've dominated large parts of games that have been involved here, and haven't had the rub of the green, and we haven't maybe taken our chances when there's been a lot of balls getting into the box. So I thought we outbattled them and outstrengthened them, and when you have Louis Moult up top and that wee bit of quality, then it wins you the football match. Yeah, well, this is what this game was about, making sure it was in our hands going into the last 2 games, and it is very much so. We can't go down automatically now. So, if we get the same support and backing that we done today from the fans that turned up, then it really is like a 12th man, and it is said willy-nilly at times, but they were superb today, and they've had a difficult season, and if we can get the same turnout and backing, then, we aim to put a performance on and make sure we're safe.
Yeah, Motherwell now in charge of their own destiny. In contrast, it was a dejected Martin Canning, the Hamilton boss.
Disappointed. I thought the game was exactly what it was going to be. I thought it was a tight, tense game. I don't think there was much in it. It was going to be one thing, one way or the other. And yet again, it's us that make the mistake. We switch off for a set piece, which has happened so many times. That's the last 3 games we've lost 5 goals off of set pieces. And no matter how much you talk about it, no matter how much you work on it, no matter how much you talk and tell them how important it is that you switch on, you can't switch off. If you're going to switch off at set pieces, and especially when games are going to be that tight, it's going to kill you. It leaves us in the same position now. We had to win 2 games, we still need to win 2 games. We need to now, out of our hands if you like, we need to go and beat Ross County, we need to beat Dundee on Saturday, and hope that's enough. But it's going to be an uphill battle now to get back up above Motherwell, but we've got to make sure now Tuesday just becomes huge. Every game becomes bigger than the game previous, and we've got to now go and win on Tuesday. No, it's going to be difficult, but we've got to, because at the end of the day we've got to keep fighting. That's part of this club, it's part of what we've always done here. It's always going to be a big ask for us at this level to go and get our job done, but we believe we can do it, we still do. And it's going to be hard, but we need to make sure we pick everybody up, and we need to make sure we go again Tuesday.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be going to Dingwall trying to rely on some kind of result up there. And if you have a listen, Ruffy, to Jim McIntyre, the Ross County boss, he's determined to do Inverness Cally Thistle a favour in this.
We're hoping that we can do Inverness a favour. The last thing that we want as a club for the area is for Inverness to go down. We want them to stay up, so from that side of things, hopefully we can do our side and it helps them. Yeah,
well, it's a derby game. It's not a big attended game, but it's money coming in. You know, it's the interest in the community, and you don't want to lose that. You don't know who you're going to get coming up. The gates might go down. But no, I think there's a good rivalry there between the two clubs, and I would like to think that Inverness would say the same about Ross County, but we'll just have to wait and see, because at the end of the day you do look after yourself, and you would like to think with the home advantage they would win that one. I think Hamilton are already talking and have got their eyes on the playoff. You know, they keep saying, look, we've been there before, we know how to deal with it, and players won't be fazed by it. So I think they've already maybe made up their mind that that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's obviously something that Richie Forden will try and stop, but I think Inverness are doomed. It's now just looking at where that playoff place, who fills that playoff place, Gordon?
Absolutely, and I think that's why Saturday's result was so important. I mean, it was a big match, being a derby as well to a degree between Hamilton and Motherwell, and what was at stake for both clubs. Ross County I've got now, they've got to play against Hamilton just to see, and in this game against Hamilton, and that's why, you know, it's a big game for Hamilton to have to go up there and play, because that's a difficult one. But Hamilton, fun enough, their big problem is scoring goals, and that's what we said before the game on Saturday. But sometimes away from home, they're not a bad side. They play quite well away from home, Hamilton. Yeah. So you know, you couldn't rule them out yet, because Motherwell have got hard games. I mean, Motherwell have got Kilmarnock, and then they've got to go to Inverness, and if Inverness are still right in it, that becomes a tough game. So you can't rule it out yet, but that was a crucial 3 points that Motherwell got.
Yeah, okay, it's one game that I think I'm going to go along to, Motherwell Kilmarnock, Ruffy, because that should be, when you're in charge of your own destiny, that should be the ultimate at home to make sure that nothing's at stake by the time you have to go up to the Tulloch Stadium.
Yeah, and you would like to think obviously Kilmarnock will be looking after themselves. You know, I mean, Lee McCulloch's done enough. You'd be wondering whether he maybe gives a couple of young players a game and starts experimenting, because I said, you know, you've got to look after your own team. But you would think Motherwell would be the team who would be not putting any more effort into it, but they would be the ones who would be, you know, up for the game more than Kilmarnock.
Yep, okay, we'll keep our eye on that. Of course, as well as that, there's the small matter of Dundee United against Falkirk, the first leg of this one, and I just wonder if one team will be more fresh than the other for this match tomorrow night. Is there a little edge in favour of Peter Houston's Falkirk?
There could be in that respect, but I think that there's also a boost. Dundee United seem to be in a very good frame of mind as well, Peter. They're talking, and I think they've got a bit of confidence from the performances against Morton. They weren't that far behind Falkirk in the league. They finished the season quite well. So I don't think there's much in it, because also that when you shut off at times, Falkirk players having that a little bit longer rest, but Dundee United are still, you know, they're up for it. They're still sharp and everything. You don't know where Falkirk are now. So I just think it's going to be really tough. I think they're going to be exciting games, these, and I would find it very hard to forecast exactly who I think is going to win, because I don't think there's much between them.
Yeah, man, Dundee United coming to the boil, as you say, just at the right time. But Ruffy, if ever there's a great little side story here, is Peter Houston with the chance to put one over in his old club.
Yeah, and when you're a football person, that's the kind of thing you want to do. You don't want to throw it in their face or anything like that, but you do quietly, you know, if you do get the better of them, you know, just indulge a wee bit, feel good about it. So I think that...
In a room when nobody's looking, Ruffy.
Yeah, just running a bit like a maniac. But you're right, you know, there is a lot on this one, you know. I in these kind of situations, I would prefer to have the second game at home. You know, so if they can go up there, you know, and maybe get a draw or something like that, you know, you would believe that you could do it at home, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not. I don't think we should get caught up in the name, the history, and the stature of either club. I think Falkirk this season have been superb, and they came to the boil just at the right time, as they often do. Yeah. Peter Houston's got them galvanised in that final quarter of the season. They really made a move, and they've got the players that can punish them. It's not as if you're thinking there's an inferiority complex.
No,
here.
I don't think there is, but no doubt about it. But I also look at the Dundee United squad, Peter, as well, and they've got some players in there who are pretty hot, like some Murray playing there, the people who can get goals. Antonio, the
Tony
player,
Andrew.
Tony Andrew, who was in at Hamilton, he can put the ball in the net. So although Falkirk are pretty, sharp and playing well, I think Dundee United have also come onto the boil, as you mentioned earlier on. So I don't think that you could actually say that either club is the form team here, because I think they're both up for it. And as Ruffy says, it might be a slight advantage, but we've seen so often this season in the lower divisions particularly, but it's always in the Premier League, that teams aren't really bothered about playing away from home. A lot of them get good results away from home, and there's no doubt about it. Dundee United are capable of even going to Falkirk and winning.
Would this be Falkirk's 4th or 5th time in the playoffs?
Yeah, well used to it. I think it's the third time, Ruffy, in the playoff situation. I may be wrong, you may be right on that. I haven't looked back at it, but I wouldn't rule them out on it. Just get your predictions, lads, on this then. Motherwell against Kilmarnock, who wins that one?
I think that's a very good game as well. I think that's going to be a draw, because I think Kilmarnock will be, as Ruffy says, will not quite be up for it.
I think Motherwell will be up for it. I'm going to go for a Motherwell win.
Okay, Ross County, Hamilton.
I think Ross County will beat Hamilton.
Yeah, I think Ross County will beat Hamilton as well.
Yep, okay. And the last one, first leg, Dundee United Falkirk.
I said it was too hard to forecast, but I know you're going to make me forecast here. So I think that Dundee United will win 1-0.
I think Dundee United will win 2-1.
2-1. Okay, then. Didn't really need to force you, Gordon. It's all about punditry. It's about giving an opinion, whether you're right or not. We'll actually discuss at the end of the season how many of the predictions we got right for winners and losers. Back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. Hopefully you're enjoying Monday to Friday at 7:30 every night our look at football across all 4 divisions in Scotland. We also glance at the English Premier League and Champions League football and Europa League as well. We'll be talking about that a little later on in the programme. Of course, this week there are some interesting fixtures we'll be keeping our eye on. We've already got the predictions from tomorrow night's games. Here's how it looks this week in the football calendar if you're trying to chart it out and look towards some of the live football on the television. Motherwell Kilmarnock and Ross County Hamilton on the Tuesday, Dundee Inverness, Rangers Aberdeen, St Johnstone against Hearts, and Partick Thistle against Celtic on the Thursday. We'll be speaking to an Aberdeen fan in the next couple of minutes just to get his thoughts on the season and reflecting on the defeat to Celtic and whether that'll have any real implication for the Scottish Cup final. But it's Rangers Aberdeen that's always a special one. Pedro Caixinha has been speaking today about that match and how he's keen for Rangers just to keep on winning until the end of the season.
The last 2 matches, I just wanted to win it. And I wanted to win it because we have goals and we are goals orientated. So the next one, if you win it, you just stay 3 points from the second position. That's our main goal at this moment. Are you going to ask me, do you prefer the team to perform great and lose like never and lose like all the times? No, I want the team to win, and they know that. But now we are in a conditions to demand a little bit more from the players, knowing that we already face Aberdeen, we already beat them, but we know that they are a strong side, and what do we need to do to beat them again? So that's the first situation.
I think there might be the added little needle in this one, Gordon. The point to prove is Rangers towards the end of the season, are they the second best team in Scotland? The position tells you it's Aberdeen.
Yes, but he made a good point there, saying that the gulf seemed quite big for a while, and everybody's saying, well, Rangers are third, but if they were to win the game on Wednesday night, that's only a 3-point gulf there, and then they could get even closer depending what happens in the last day. So from that point of view, Rangers want to get a win in order to give his team a little boost. But it's going to be difficult. I think Aberdeen will certainly be up for it, because I think that they played well for about 7 to 8 minutes on Friday night, and I thought they pushed Celtic once they were 3-0 down, which was a terrible start. Aberdeen performed very well, and also the fact was that Rangers embarrassed them in the last game with the scoreline and the performance at Pittodrie. I think Derek McInnes will want to have his team up for this one, and he'll want to get a bigger gulf between them and Rangers, so we can say to people, we are the second best team in Scotland by far, and we've shown it.
Yeah, the record at Ibrox is not that great.
No, but they're always good games. And as Gordon said, I think the Aberdeen players will have something to prove. I think they'll look at the Rangers game up at Aberdeen, where I thought they were the better side up until Kenny Miller scored. I thought the Rangers goalkeeper had some tremendous saves to keep them in the game. In all fairness to Rangers, they were going to win the game, and then you took it the Celtic game, and I saw the Aberdeen boys saying for 80 minutes we were as good as Celtic. So now they have to come down to Ibrox and prove that although they lost these 2 games, that they are a very good side. So I think that is the onus for them to come down and take 3 points.
Okay, we caught up with an Aberdeen fan, Chris Scott, earlier today to get his thoughts on not only Aberdeen against Rangers at Ibrox, but the impending Scottish Cup final, and whether the 3-1 defeat on Friday had any real bearing on what's going to happen at Hampden.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the way that Celtic have been, second place was evident early on that second place was the best that we could do in the league. We've done it. Stuttered a little bit over the last few weeks. It's been a little bit unfortunate, but seems to be the way that we've been under McInnes post-split. We've obviously got the cup final to look forward to. Didn't put a particularly good account in the League Cup final, so hopefully we'll do better on the 27th.
Yeah, just touching on the cup final, do you think that loss to Celtic on Friday night will have any psychological bearing on Aberdeen? Because, every time you've met them this year, it's 12 goals conceded and only 2 scored against Celtic.
Yeah, I think probably more concerned not just about the goals conceded against Celtic, but the goals conceded generally of late. We've conceded, if it's Tawdry over the last 3 games, that's 8 goals now. They've been conceded over a grand total of about 15 minutes. It seems that when we do concede, it just seems to rock the entire back four. So a little bit worried in that respect. But there was enough positives from Friday night, I think, to take forward after Celtic scored their third. Aberdeen were near enough in control. Some of the better Celtic players, like Sinclair, Roberts, really, really quiet. Aberdeen have the players to harm Celtic, and you just got to hope that they perform on the day. Johnny Hayes, Niall McGinn. Central forward position's a little bit of a worry. Stockley or Rooney, neither of whom in particularly good form. But there's things to be confident about on the cup final.
I don't think too many Aberdeen fans need to get up for the game that's coming up on Wednesday night against Rangers. Do you think because you finished second there will be an extra little bit of needle in this one just to prove the point that you are the second force in Scottish football at the moment?
I think so. It's all but sealed. We can do it unless we take a 10-0 near enough on Wednesday night, which I can't see happening. Obviously we've been dreadful at Ibrox for a long, long time now, and this would be a real boost to go there and to win, which we're perfectly capable of doing on Wednesday night. It'd be a great way to really G people up for the cup final. I don't really think that we need it. As I say, I think there was enough and to take from Friday's game to think that we can make a good fist of it in the cup final. But a win on Wednesday night would really give every fan and the team a boost.
Just to finish, Chris, Aberdeen have been linked with Sean Maloney, and obviously Derek McInnes is looking at other players. What do you make of Maloney as a potential signing, and what else would you like to see from the Dons in the summer to strengthen the team?
Sean Maloney, he's got quality, there's no doubt about it. He hasn't played much football lately, but you would still think that he could do damage in the Scottish Premiership. A winger is something we're going to be looking at. Looks all but certain now McGinn's going to go. I think Aberdeen's deficiencies are quite obvious. Central defence, I guess Ash Taylor's going to go. We could do with at least 2 central defenders. I think Ryan Jack's going to go, but Greg Tansey coming in will mitigate that. I think he's a really good player.
Yep, that was Chris Scott, an Aberdeen fan, looking at the ways that he'd like to see Derek McInnes strengthen the side even further, but of course doesn't believe that the defeat on Friday will have any bearing on the cup final. I mean, the only thing that I would suggest is psychologically and as far as effort's concerned, they're going to have to find something different because they haven't been able to do it in all the games they've played Celtic.
No, they have to start better, and the big players really do have to turn up. You know, I think the last one, the League Cup one, it just never happened. That was an alarming start you threw out there, 12 goals for and 2 against. It's something you don't want to dwell on. But I think the Rangers game is an important one. You know, I think if they were to win that would be enough confidence going into the Celtic game, and then the last game you can leave as many out as you in the league. You can leave out as many as you like and just build on that if it is a win against Rangers with the confidence to go into the game, because the big players all really need to be fit and 100% for Aberdeen to have any chance at all.
Yeah, it's Partick Thistle they have in the last game, so Rangers and then Partick, but it'll be a meaningless game anyways. As Ruffy says, you could rest a few people up. The Celtic one's a big crucial one. I mean, that's the game that gives them an opportunity to win a trophy. Beat Celtic for the first time this season when they've actually already played them 5 times, 5 defeats. As I say, who's to say whether the Celtic just didn't switch off when they went 3-0 up so comfortably on Friday night? And that's why the Aberdeen got back in the game. We don't really know that, but they certainly did control the match when they got back to 3-1. So you have to look at it and say they've got something in them, Aberdeen. They've got good players, a good style of football, but they need to be more consistent. In terms of you were asking about players, I think centre-half's a position they definitely need.
Yeah, and of course Celtic 3 games away from becoming the Invincibles, Ruffy.
Yeah, again, you know that we've been talking about it. A lot of people have been talking about it for the last 2 or 3 months. It's been played a wee bit low key now with Celtic as it's went on. They're not shouting for they haven't been shouting for the rooftops about it. I mean, other people have been shouting it, but this game is the treble. You know, the final. You know, It's everything rolled into one. You know, and that's what they'll be geared to do.
Okay, coming up after the break, we'll talk John Hughes, Effie Ambrose, throw in Neil Lennon for good measure, and of course the playoffs. But you'll also get the answer to that question that Gordon Smith alluded to earlier. Thankfully, he didn't give out the answer, but we will indeed tell you the year after this quick break. Would you have been able to nail that, Ruffy? Obviously, Gordon knew.
No.
No, I didn't think you would. Anyway, apart from anything else, great news for Aberdeen, but great news for Feyenoord to get that title win, because there's a former Rangers player who's now the manager, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He went through a shaky start, they stuck by him, and he's delivered the title. I thought it was only fitting that Dirk Kuyt was in there. There was the name, 36 years of age, still scoring goals, got them, I think the first goal and then the penalty to secure it.
Yeah, and I think we all remember the Feyenoord team from way back when Celtic played them. You know, they were always about European finals or semi-finals, so it's good for a club like that to get back there. Obviously Ajax have been the team that everybody's spoken about over there, but I think it's always good for a new team to win a league. And I wonder if the Europa League with Ajax maybe had a detrimental effect on them, trying to run them closer.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, they just games, number of games they've got, and they may be thinking, you know, getting back to winning a trophy, because Ajax were also a very successful team in terms of winning and competing in Europe. So that's maybe taking their eye off the ball a wee bit, but they'll be disappointed with that. But what an opportunity they've got now, because if they do beat Manchester United, they'll also be in the Champions League next season. So I don't know whether Holland have ever had 2 teams in the Champions League. I don't think so.
Yeah, interesting point. I'll tell you, at the weekend, guys, it was incredible as far as the playoffs were concerned. John Hughes has left Raith Rovers. He tried to do the job, looked as if he was close to it, Robbie, against Brecon, and then suddenly the whole game turned on its head, and now Brecon find themselves looking forward to a match against Jim Goodwin's Alloa.
Yeah, it's okay for us sitting here in the studio and saying, "Oh, that must be exciting up there. It must have been nail-biting if you were a supporter of either of these two teams with so much depending on it." And I just think the Raith Rovers will still be hurting for losing that goal against Hibs in the last minute of the game. You know, it was 1 point that could have saved them for all this, the playoffs and everything. So yeah, they'll be hurting, and it's a big club. It has to be a good organisation behind the scenes to get them back to where they were, but it's a sore one, but these things happen.
In terms of what John Hughes was saying, I had no doubt he'd be leaving at the end of the season. I didn't know the end of the season was going to come on Saturday because I thought they would be in the playoff at worst, you know, but all credit to Brechin. What a fight they put up and got themselves. I mean, they finished 4th in the league, well behind Livingston, but so were Alloa too, who they now got in the final. They've played Alloa already 4 times this season, so they'll know exactly what they're up against, you know. But that's the first team to actually be relegated, because in terms of the playoffs, you know, in the lower divisions, you've got Peterhead have stayed there, and then we don't know who's going to be in the playoff from the Premier yet. But Raith Rovers, sad for them. I mean, that was a team that was up competing at the top of the championship in the early part of the season.
I was going to say something to you. I think a lot of people thought they were actually going to be in with a shout of
In the playoff.
definitely top 4.
Yeah.
And some people thought maybe even higher than that.
Absolutely, there was no doubt about it, Peter, and they were in that region at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And then it just seemed to all fall apart.
I'm surprised the kitman threw his name into the hat. But
Yeah,
the job.
you're a bad man, Duffy, I'm telling you. As far as the other match is concerned, Forfar against Peterhead. I mean, when we look at our predictions, I mean, Raith Rovers, some people may have thought they'd been up the top end. They were not. I thought Peterhead were in with a shout of winning that division, and look, they're now fighting to stay in it.
Absolutely, and you know, Forfar had a great chance to win the league, and they sort of blew it, although probably with Arbroath getting the result anyway, it wouldn't happen, but they were so close, 2 points behind Arbroath into the playoffs, but now they've still got that opportunity, so we might still yet see two, like, obviously teams who are very much derby teams, Forfar or Arbroath, with a chance of getting in there, because Peterhead, as I say, they did well at the weekend there, but you can never rely on them. They're so inconsistent, Peterhead.
Yeah, a couple of stories I want to get your thoughts on, lads, before we finish. Willie Collum has been appointed a video assistant referee for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup next month. This is the move that I think will change a lot of pub arguments up and down the country when this eventually gathers pace. I still think there are only 2 last bits of the jigsaw that will change football over the next decade or beyond. Video assistant, that changes the game in the top flight, and then over and above that, I think the other thing that I've always been bleating on about, which will change the game as well, is they'll stop the clocks.
Yeah.
And it will eradicate people cheating and wasting time.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's surd. I think we spoke about it sometime during the day, the week, the year, but they did a survey, and the ball was only in play for about 55 minutes of the 90. So yes, that gives the supporters a wee bit more value for money. You know, if they're getting 90 minutes of football rather than the ball being up in the stand or whatever, or not actually visibly moving. But you know, I think that would be a good thing, Peter.
I'm in favour of it, as I say, totally. That would be a good idea. And the other one, as you know, I've already made it very clear, when I was in the committees with FIFA and UEFA, I put forward the case for the video evidence immediately to be looked at for major situations, because it's going to improve the game. When you look at a scenario there, how many times have you seen a penalty awarded, and well, before the guy even takes the penalty, we already had pictures on screen saying the player dived and it wasn't a penalty, or an ordering off in the same. Surely we can get situations looked at, maybe even offside from time to time. It can only be at the highest level, but that is the important part of the game, and I'm totally in favour of it. And they rejected it years ago, but finally, it's like most things in football, they're finally coming round to get the right idea, don't
Who was
they?
the person that rejected it in that FIFA committee? Come on, name him.
Franz Beckenbauer was the
Franz
first one to
Beckenbauer.
reject it, yeah. He was the one.
Yeah.
Shocking.
What has he ever done in the game?
You know.
Anyway, apart from that, a couple of other things I want to get your thoughts on. I'm an old romantic, so to see some of the great Tottenham players come out at the weekend when Tottenham signed off with a 2-1 win over Manchester United, it was an absolute joy. The only player I just wish they announced his name coming out at White Hart Lane was Paul Gascoigne, but he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that a lot of Tottenham fans would have loved to have seen Gaza walk out there.
I thought so. I thought he would have been there. Why not? Because he's about England now, and he's going to a few functions, as you well know. I'm a little bit sad about it, as I am when a lot of times, Peter, when a stadium I actually played at, and I enjoy playing there, and it's not the stadium anymore, because my memory is that stadium, and a lot of fans maybe feel the same.
Yeah.
But, you know, having played there at White Hart Lane, I'm sorry that it's not going to be, the football's not going to be there anymore.
It looks like a fantastic bit of building. You know, they're actually building the new stadium into the third of the other
current
one.
one, yeah.
It's absolutely amazing if you see the plans.
But it's a big thing. I mean, even Brighton, where I played, the new stadium is fantastic now. I mean, it's well outside the town, but it's a far, far better stadium. Highbury was a stadium like White Hart Lane, right in the middle of a housing estate. West Ham had a stadium the same.
Yeah.
Tight areas, so you couldn't do anything with it. You know?
What was the story of it? Was built for the common man? You know,
Yes.
it was working communities. That was what it was there
It was,
for.
and there was hardly any hospitality in those old stadiums, Peter. It was like there was one main stand, maybe one room for the directors to have hospitality, but very little else. There was shops to buy drinks and food, but mainly initially they were all standing, weren't they?
Yeah, with all due respect, who needs hospitality when you've got a macaroon bar and spearmint chewing gum? I mean, let's get a grip. That's all you needed for football in those days.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things that I want to quickly finish on. It's hard to believe it's 9 years to the day since we lost Tommy Burns on this day. It was the day after Rangers lost to Zenit St Petersburg in the UEFA Cup final. I remember it clearly. 9 years have passed, and I knew him well. He was a great lad, pater magnificent, and he was one of those players like an Ali McCoist. They made that transition where both sets of fans, you know, enjoyed their passion for their own club, but you know, loved to listen to them.
Yeah, you're right. I had the pleasure of playing with Tommy for a year at Celtic, and although the characters that were there in the dressing room, that everybody else would think Tommy was a character. Tommy would be in that dressing room creating as much havoc as everybody else, and as competitive as you could ever be, even at a wee bounce game at training. You know, he had to be a winner, he had to be in the winning side, and that came through in his football as well. But again, you know, a fan's legend, somebody, you just shows you how good he is, that the fans had him up there as high as the Lisbon Lion Boys.
Yep, miss him as a player, manager, and his one-liners were absolutely magnificent. And the last thought to you, Gordon Smith, if you're going to win a Player of the Year, you'd be as well getting all your family and your countrymen to vote for you, and that's exactly what Artur Boruc did at Bournemouth to win the Player of the Season. Good on you, Artur.
What I've heard is that they were wanting a vote from the fans, obviously, to email in your Player of the Year, but Artur being such a legend in Poland and having a big number of fans that check and see what he's saying on Twitter and all that sort of thing, he asked them all to vote for him, and he got the biggest vote they've ever had for a player.
That's the way to get recognition. Artur Boruc is the Bournemouth Player of the Season. Certainly got the fans' vote anyway. Thanks to Gordon Smith. Thanks to Alan Ruff for joining us here on the programme. Hopefully you can join us tomorrow night at 7:30.